it's and then we have the drones, of course,
And
but
then,
they're gone now. They're gone.
yeah, okay. Well,
Let's let's
let's get
go.
started. We'll count
All right.
down just because I don't know why. One,
Yeah.
3, 2. Hello and welcome to hello and welcome to episode 210 of the Zeusless Friends of Zeus podcast. I think it's 2000 or 210,
I
right?
think I think you're
Yeah.
correct,
So
which is
tonight
mind-boggling.
it is. It really
Yes.
is. So tonight we don't have a strict topic, which is, you may want to sit down. Um,
Well, there's only two of us, so we're just having a conversation.
which means you get more of each of us, which is, there. So what I'd like to kind of touch base with tonight with Hot Carl here is just to catch up of like where we are here with this new administration. I mean, we're what, 5 weeks in? Has
Yeah.
it even been that long? 5 weeks? Um,
Yeah.
and not to give it away up front, but I'm astounded. Like as a voter who ha has voted for Trump 3 times, um, this is beyond it's beyond what I expected as far as the speed
Yeah.
of and the intensity and the seriousness that all of this is being taken and all of this how it's being done. I'm 50-ish, we're all 50-ish here. Um, I'm not used to this. I'm not used to having someone campaign and say what they're going to do, and then they get elected, and then they do it. Like that's very unusual.
Yeah.
Um, and again, living, I live here in right outside DC, and the federal government, it's a company town, and the company is the federal government. Um, I know people who have already lost their job, not close friends of mine, but I know of people. I have clients who have had to cancel contracts because of their economic uncertainty,
Yeah.
and I'm having commissions clawed back out of my paycheck, even though I'm in the private sector. So, and a lot of people are complaining about it. A lot of people are super happy about it. It's kind of all over the place. I meant to take a picture of one today. I saw for the first time, if you know those signs that people put in their front yards that are like, we believe in science and hate has
Yes.
no home here. Anyway, in that style, I saw two signs today that are, we support our federal workers. Like it's
Yeah.
all celeb now. They're on the intersectional oppressed class now, I guess, the
Yep.
federal workers. And again, all full disclosure up front, I have friends, people I care about deeply, uh, who work for the federal government and in different places. And it's real. And I would love to have some of them on the show, but that's not going to happen.
Right.
But in my conversations with them, even people that are um, you know, pretty avid supporters of the Trump agenda and the MAGA movement, even among them, they're a little bit like, wow, man, like there's career people that they're just gone. And I was like, well, isn't it probationary? And I understand that there's some people that recently transitioned to different jobs that are
Mm.
considered probationary. And word on the street is that's not necessarily the case. There's entire departments that are just getting wiped out. Many because of the whole elimination of the DEI stuff.
Yeah.
Human resources departments
Yeah.
are just getting obliterated. If you work in human resources in the federal government, I mean, you got a target on you because there's so many other ways to handle that workflow that doesn't require it to be done necessarily on site. I mean, I don't know if many people know, but in the private sector, a lot of these mid-size companies they outsource their HR uh, work, you know.
That's right. Yeah.
Um,
No, I got a buddy whose girlfriend is one of those outsourced HR people, and she like works from home and stuff.
yeah,
Fortunately for her, she doesn't work for the federal government right now. You know what I mean? But
but it is, I mean, not just the layoffs, this email that went out, which I just thought was,
I
we'll get
love it.
into that, but
Yeah.
I talked to one of the friends I talked to, um, said that yes, he did get the email. I haven't had a chance to really get into it with him, but so I mean those have been going out. Um, I find it interesting as someone I've never worked for the federal government. I've never worked for the state government. I've done contract work for um, the federal government before, but nothing. No, I was never an employee, and there's always this perception that people that work for the federal government are sort of giving up income that they could make in the private sector, which again I kind of push back against that.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know that I fully believe that at all. But as someone in the private sector that went through the disaster that was like the 2008 real estate crisis, I was a business owner at that time.
Hmm.
Um, Someone that has known people. I mean, I lost my business during that time. I've known other people between all kinds of crazy, disastrous things that have gone on that have lost their job. And for a long time, it always bothered me when I would hear federal employees complain when there would be like a temporary government shutdown because I was just like, what? Like they were crying like it was the worst thing in the world and they would get back pay and
Yeah.
they wouldn't really lose the money. So I've always felt like there's this like they don't get the private sector. I feel like I get their perspective, but I feel
Yeah,
like they don't
no.
get ours. But all this whining and crying about this email, I'm like, I'm a 53-year-old man. I am for what I do, I'm near the top, right? I'm not an entry level guy.
Right.
And every week I have a meeting. It's usually 10 minutes, 15 minutes on the phone, in person, Zoom call, whatever, Teams meeting with my immediate supervisor. And you know what I tell him? I tell him what I did last week and what I've got coming up this week. It's just a touch base. So he knows what I'm up to. And it just amazes me that people would complain about that. I mean, to me, the reaction, the negative reaction to that kind of tells me all I need to know.
Yeah, right. That there's a lot of people who are getting paid with your taxpayer dollars that really don't do anything.
or that they feel, or that they feel that it's unreasonable, right? To
Right.
be accountable. Again, it goes back to a theme we've had on the show, probably from Jump Street, anti-tribalism, but also accountability. Like how the fact that people, these shenanigans that go on in our federal government, things happen, horrible things, and that there's like seemingly no accountability for it, which is just not the way the world works for everybody else. But anyway, we can get back to that. But for me personally, I'm just shocked how fast everything's moving, the velocity of it. I feel
Yeah.
like,
The
man, just four
volume.
more years of this. And then just the contrast between what we're seeing now. Like if you watch a press conference with what's her first name? Carolyn
Oh,
Levitt?
I think it's isn't it Catherine or is it Caitlin
Catherine Levitt. Yeah. So if you watch a
or
press
Kathleen?
conference with her and then think back to just a month ago or 2 months ago with Jean-Pierre, um, whatever her name was,
Kareem Jean Pierre or
Karine
whatever.
Jean-Pierre, it's like you're on a different planet. Like, I
Yep.
mean, and just Biden, like not knowing where he's going, not being aggressive with foreign leaders, in for Americans, putting America first. The contrast is just it's mind blowing, and I wanted it. I was expecting it. I voted for it, and it's still mind blowing to me. What do you
Yeah.
what do you
No,
think about
I
Trump?
agree. It's, yeah, I remember I kind of, and not that I saw this kind of speed and volume coming, but when he gave his inauguration speech, I kind of knew it was on. Like
Yeah,
that was a no joke. Like he not only blasted the Biden administration and even previous administration, like he put he you know he it's not like he held back. He wasn't polite. Like
mm-mm.
he blasted them for all the wrong things that they did, and then he rattled off all the things that he was going to do and what the new American standard was going to be. It
Yeah,
was a ballsy speech, and I thought to myself, he seems more serious now than he did the first time. And he also seems like he's a little more savvy in terms of how this works.
yeah,
Like I think the first time around he trusted people he shouldn't have trusted. He didn't know how the machine operated, and he certainly didn't know how much they feared him and what they would do to keep him away, right? And that's why I admire the shit out of the guy. Not only for like everything that he endured to try to get this job back and everything he risked to try to get this job back. I mean, his freedom, his life, at one point,
yeah,
like, and then to get in, it wasn't like he didn't just sit on the laurels like, okay, well, now I accomplished it. I'm Donald Trump and I've been elected president twice. Ha ha, I did it. Like this guy, he's basically like, I'm going to do immediately everything that I said I'm going to do. And even like that first day, I'm telling you, the press, they say they hate him, and as far as their ideologues and their values, they do hate him, okay, and they do fear him,
yeah,
but they love him too, because this guy is a rock star. Every day there's microphones in his face and he will talk to you. Like Mike, when he signed all those executive orders on, I call it opening day, not
yeah.
inaugural. It was opening day of like the season. You know what I
I
mean?
love it. Yeah,
Yeah. So like he had all those blue leather executive order letters like drafted, ready to go, hundreds of them.
yeah,
And he would like stop in between signing them and he would say, "Oh, this is a good one. This is great. This is what we're going to do with this." There was something majestic about it. Like it was just really like this guy's taking this job seriously and he knows what he can do and what he can't now.
yeah,
Like whoever's been advising him leading up to this point, I don't know if it's that guy Miller or if it's because obviously it's not just Musk. You know what I mean?
no, I don't think
Maybe
Musk is advising him at all. I think
no, I
Musk
don't
is
either because I mean Musk
attack
is
dog.
yeah, Musk is Musk, right? He's his
Yeah,
own. He's on a whole different level of like, even conversationally. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, Trump's not putting like. I don't think Trump and Musk could have a conversation longer than just okay, boom, boom, boom. All right, you go do
and
that.
I mean, I'm sure there's a level. I mean, Trump loves people that are good on TV.
Yep.
He likes entrepreneurs,
Oh yeah.
and he knows that Musk is probably the only person in the world that doesn't uh,
Not
he
looking.
can't buy Musk. Like Musk is
No.
just Musk, right?
Well,
I
that's
mean,
that's the theory though now, Mike. All the haters,
I
they're
know,
saying the Musk is just in it for himself, and watch all the government contracts and federal,
I know,
the easing of regulation so that he can do a stupid thing like try to get us to Mars or have rockets that can land and
right?
have put microchips in people's brains so that disabled people can actually like do more with with their
I
minds,
yeah, I mean,
all those more electric cars, more efficient energy. Yeah, well, like he's a total, evil mastermind.
right.
This guy who's doing all this stuff. Like I love it. I love it. Now he's a
It's
bad guy. Now he's a
it
bad guy.
it's not the I think we said on a earlier podcast, it's like, you catch your significant other cheating by, seeing like something on their phone,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
confront them with it, and they're like, I can't believe you're looking at my phone. Like,
Right. Yeah, right.
you know what I mean?
That
It's like, okay, whatever, man.
yeah,
Um, I don't
and
know.
that's yeah, and you touch base on the whole USAID and
Yeah,
now the federal employees, and we're supposed to cry for these people. I mean, they even have the audacity to put on television these people that were probationary employees at the IRS.
right. That were
Okay,
just hired.
the IRS.
Yeah, who were
Think
going
of
to audit us.
right. Well, not only that. I mean, what Americans are going to cry over the IRS having to lay people off? I mean, and
Yeah.
really,
I
I
mean,
mean, that's how shameless they are. Like they don't even see the forest from the trees. Like no one gives a shit about the IRS downsizing.
yeah. I mean, like, again, where was all the crying and rending of clothes, in '08, when they were, or, and in the teens and all that times they were saying like, you better learn to code and all this stuff.
Yeah, no,
But
right. When they shut down energy,
the energy
energy workers here in
pipeline,
America, they told them to learn how to code,
yeah.
and they told them to learn how to work in green energy sectors. You know what I mean? Like when he shut down the Keystone Pipeline, which he lied about, and he said he wouldn't fucking do that, and he wouldn't stop fracking, and he did
Both.
basically the opposite of what he said he was going to do. Yeah, and then also look at what he did during COVID.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
how many
I
people
mean,
got fired? How many servicemen had to leave the armed forces because they didn't want to get the jab?
who have now been invited back with back pay, which I think is amazing. I don't know if you
Yeah,
heard that.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. That's a real fascist move.
I mean, I mean, the thing that disturbs me is, all along, this is like another long theme of mine. Um, these people who are like the far, and terms are important, right? I mean,
Yeah.
liberal, I'm liberal in a lot of stuff. There's nothing wrong with being liberal, classical liberalism, whatever. What we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about is leftism, like American Marxism, radical leftists, um, people that believe in the centralization of power and the importance of the state over the individual. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And for years and years and years, and really the first Trump administration really brought a lot of this to the head. To, when you had like people like Peter Strzok, in the FBI, who, their his text messages to his mistress, like, we're not going to let him win, and all this.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would say something about it, or these people were brought up to testify in front of Congress, and the party representatives, after like someone like Peter Strzok, I'm just using him as an example.
Yeah.
um Someone like Andrew McCabe or whatever would get up there and be like, I can't believe that, you guys are impugning the honor of all of these FBI agents. And it's like, no, dude, we're not impugning the honor of FBI agents. We're impugning the honor of you jokers who are at the top. And so it's like a lot of people in this cabal, this leftist Democrat Party, when you come at them for things that they have done, they kind of hide behind um, the rank and file, and they're like, "You're attacking the rank and file," which is not what we're doing. We're attacking them, and so it is painful to see what's going on now with all these people getting laid off, because the initial human reaction, whoever you are, is like, "Oh, this is so sad," and it is so sad, and it's like, it's really sad that we have to do this, and you need the rest of the story. The reason we have to do this is because for decades and decades, people, our elected representatives in both parties, have been royally screwing us and allowing this leviathan of a government to increase exponentially to the point where economists are like, dude, in like 15 years, you're not going to have Social Security anymore. You're not going to have Medicare anymore. You're not, and they just kept putting it off and putting it off. So the bill is due, and then people try to point the finger at Trump. He's the one. he's like the doctor that's cutting the cancer out, right?
Right.
I mean, the anger, and again, this is them hiding behind the anger if people are a federal employee and they're upset about this. Trump's not the one that's the problem. It's everyone before him that's the problem. But that's a hard sell. That's a hard
Yeah.
sell. People have to think about it for 27 seconds, and they don't want to think about it. They just want to like, you know, torches and crowbars.
Yeah, and then we're all supposed to cry for the federal employees, but I mean, uh, it kind of fits their narrative because Biden was always on. He was always jumping up and saying, "Look at all the jobs I created. I created all these jobs, and unemployment is down, and all this stuff." And when unemployment was down under Trump, he touted it as a thing that he accomplished too. Like I remember that
Yeah,
because under Trump, unemployment was really low. Like even amongst marginalized groups and all this stuff, like it was. He claimed it was the lowest rate since like the 80s, and maybe it was. I don't know. But what happened with COVID was a lot of people lost jobs. And then when they lifted the COVID regulations or the prohibitions, a lot of people got their jobs back. Right. And so
yeah,
Biden was able to rest on that. He didn't create new jobs. He didn't create industry. He just gave jobs back to people that had lost it because of COVID.
yep,
And now Trump looks like, he's coming in and he's making people unemployed, right? Like he's
right, right.
firing people. So he's doing the opposite. But the thing is, we're the ones who pay the salaries of these people.
Yeah, I mean,
And all they're
100%.
doing is an audit. And like, I think Trump, you mentioned Musk's email. Wasn't it basically just, okay, tell us four things that you did last week and what it is that you do here? You know,
Right.
kind of like do you ever see the movie Office Space?
Oh, yeah, man, that's
Okay,
fantastic.
there's that the whole scene and it was sort of like the theme when they bring in the two outsiders to sort
Yes,
of go through. They interview all the staff as far as so what do you do here and all this stuff. It's a great clip when the one guy basically says he does nothing. The guy who's been the main guy.
right, right. He doesn't
Um,
even.
Yeah, he's nothing really. I just kind of hang around the office, and I just but
I'm
uh, but no, I mean, it's like you're saying, if you get an email that just imagine like you're prepping your resume, okay?
and
You have to put like bullet points or a paragraph about the current job that you have.
right.
Okay, if
It
you can do that, you can
then
come up with an answer to that email,
and this is yeah
unless
there
unless you literally do nothing.
and but it's even worse than that. It's the attitude is or seems to
Mm,
be that anyone would have the audacity to ask them what they
what they
did
do.
last week. You know, I
Right.
mean, obviously this is a ping, right? They're just like, are you alive? Is this an actual person that's working?
Right. Yeah, because
It's not like,
there's evidence that there's people on the payroll
geez,
that don't work.
can you? I'll put this in there. But someone took those dudes from Office Space and put
Oh.
Trump's and Musk's heads on them.
I see
I'll
it. I see it.
I'll put that in the when
Oh,
I
that's
put this
great.
together. But it was just a ping. It's like the lowest level. It's like, hey, do you have a heartbeat? And people are
Right.
freaking out. And again, if you work in the private sector or have ever worked for any serious company, this is the way it is, man. I mean, it's like, you know, oh man, it's sad what happened to that your mom died. Um, we'll look past the fact that you're not as productive this week. And then next week it's like, are you getting better? And then like third week you're fired. Like
Right.
if you're not measuring up. And so if you live in that environment and have lived in that environment, you tend not to have a lot of sympathy for what we're hearing now. Because to me, I'm like, look, if it's so if working for the federal government is so horrible, then now's your opportunity. Come join us. But the thing is, it takes, I don't know what the exact number is, but I'm in the ballpark. If I were to say it takes like 30 private sector jobs to support one federal uh,
Employee.
employee
Yeah.
because their salary comes from the taxes everyone else pays. And
Yeah.
I know they pay taxes as well, but it is like 30 to 1.
Yeah. I
And
know.
and and to even
Yeah.
ask the question of like, do we need all of these people? And they're like, oh my
Right.
God, you're
Right.
Hitler. Like,
Right.
like
Yeah. How many people does it take to run this particular task?
right.
You know what I mean? Like when you have a private sector employer, like you said, they typically will keep you as busy as possible.
Hmm.
They want you working on, and they'll just throw a bunch of shit out that you're responsible for, so that your workday is busy.
Yeah.
Like you're busy during your 9 to 5, right? In fact, a lot of times you're so busy you have to stay late
Hmm.
because something needs to get done.
Yeah.
These folks can't even cite what they did, like 4 things that you did last week. That's a problem.
Yeah.
That's evidence of something. Like I mean, the whole thing with Doge, it's about going after what do they call it? Waste, fraud, and
Corruption? No.
yeah, no, it was
Theft?
waste.
No.
I forget. There's like it was waste, fraud, and I can't think. I
Hanky
can't think.
panky.
Yeah, well, basically, or just uselessness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like waste, but there's nothing wrong with doing that when we're the ones who pay for all of it. And the fact is, the federal government has it's like the largest government of in the history of mankind
Yeah.
in terms of how many people are involved in it, and we pay them all. And I think it's okay to make sure that they're working. Like
Yeah. We're not.
there's nothing wrong with it. And if we can downsize, then why the hell wouldn't we down? We have you know there's a deficit, right? This country is in so much debt, and it's constant.
Yeah.
It's just constant. And then we find out like the other thing that just happened. I don't know how much we touched on it last or 2 weeks ago was the whole USAID, the
I
Agency for International Development.
yeah.
To have all these Democrats in front of that building protesting and shrieking like Elizabeth Warren and Chuck Schumer, like we can't shut this down. This is so important. And we find out that billions have been going into NGOs and God knows where the money goes. Like, some of the money we find out is for the most ridiculous things ever, like, transgender awareness in Pakistan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But a lot of it, we don't know exactly where every penny went. It just goes to some nebulous, NGO project. And then how much of the money actually got spent on what it is that they're supposed to be
There.
doing. And I mean, if you don't want to like root that out, get to the bottom of it, and figure out where billions of dollars is going,
Yep.
how do you stand up there like Elizabeth Warren with a straight face and say that
Be-
this is a bad thing what they're doing? It's fascist. He's a fascist. Look what he's doing. Like that's I mean, I kind of was hoping. I guess it was foolhardy, but after election day, I was convinced one of the things that came out of that is that America as a group of people, of voters, no longer believed the mainstream media.
hmm
They just don't, right? They don't
Yeah.
believe them anymore. But then you look at the numbers and it's like, shit, it was kind of 50-50 there. In the popular vote, it was very, very close. So there's still that mass audience for bullshit.
Yeah.
And a lot of what Trump's doing with his aggressive maneuvering and everything, like you said, the volume and the speed with which this president is acting, like it just gives them so much fodder if they can put a spin on it. Like, how do you put a spin on shutting this down? You're shutting down aid to countries that need our help. All that money was really going to noble causes, and now you don't care. These people are going to die, right? So that's bullshit. One,
Yeah.
you're firing all these poor people. These people are going to be. How are they going to? What are they going to do to pay their rent and get the groceries? So you're playing the violins for IRS agents, literally.
Right. And
You know that
as if the federal government is a jobs program.
right.
I mean, it's like, is that how we're
And
thinking about
oh
this? I
yeah,
mean,
and then
that's insane.
you see the what was it, the SAG Awards the other night with Jane Fonda and all these,
Yeah.
crying for it's all about the transgenders and the LGBT community is
I,
being persecuted and hunted down. Like suddenly we're in Germany in like 36
and
or something.
I really think, I mean, to me, I want to keep seeing that because I think as long as that goes on, they're going to keep losing. And I
Yeah.
think there has been an awakening for a lot of people. And I think things are happening so fast they just can't even keep up. And it's kind of a blitz. And I think that's by design with Trump. I think he went into this term like like you said, he was steeled. He was like not going to let what happened before happen again.
Hmm.
And he is just grabbing things by the roots.
Yeah, and right, and he knows that the as quick as he tries to accomplish what he wants to accomplish, they're going to fight him tooth and nail. So he has to try to get as much done as quickly as possible before the midterms for one thing, right? Because that can
Yeah.
change, that can turn the tide, so fast as far as what he can accomplish. But if you remember, like when he got elected the first time, it was Russia Gate and it was the Mueller investigation. And you know what I mean? He had to go through all
Right
that
out of the
shit
gate.
right out of the gate. And he's not letting that happen. And now what you have, you're like, okay, well, what's this what's the version of attack against Trump 2.0? It's these federal judges.
Oh, real quick, I'm gonna hit
Yeah.
stop and then
Yeah.
because we're at the end, and then I'm gonna hit record again. Hold on. One thing that you mentioned with USAID or USAID that I thought again, it's that agency. There's so much smoke there.
Yeah.
There's so many issues with it. But I just look at this article and I sent you guys this, and it was written February 1st, so pretty recent. Joseph Wolfson, and what he's talking about is the interview with Mark Caputo from Politico, where Mark said that as far back as 2016, but definitely 2019, 2020, that he worked for Politico as a writer, and he had found out about the Hunter Biden laptop story. Um, he started hearing about it as early as that summer and had written a completely sourced, a great story about it, and was told they would not publish it. And not only that, they didn't want him mentioning it. They didn't want him writing anything about it. They just squished it, right? So now you've got what we thought was an independent news source,
Yeah.
and it's bad enough that they would put the kibosh on something, but whatever, that's their right. I mean, it hits their reputation, but it's
Right.
not illegal necessarily to do that. Um, But then we find out with this USAID story,
Yeah.
and you start reading through certain things, and you find that there was, tens of millions of dollars that went from USAID, federal funds, taxpayer funds, to Politico. Now, the people in the Democrat media and the leftists, they're like, well, these were subscriptions. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, so they were premium subscriptions, and not all of them are to actual people, right? These are
Right.
just like accounts to the tune of, I'm talking tens of millions. I mean, I don't have the exact amount, but
No, you're right. And it's not just Politico. It was also Associated Press, New York Times. A lot of
right,
them were getting subsidized
by the federal government, which
by
means,
by well,
you
by
know,
us.
by us through the federal government, through the whatever you want to call it, the blob, the deep state, the
Yeah.
fourth branch of government, the bureaucratic state, whatever.
Right.
But you look at this story and like, okay, I'm just a simple country doctor, but I can see that USAID sending tens of millions of dollars to Politico, and Politico puts the kibosh after getting this money, and while getting this money puts a kibosh on their own reporters reporting on a story that, wait a minute, would be negative to that
Mm.
same power structure, to that same centralized deep state, whatever you want to call it. Um, there's no fig. This is black letter. This isn't chess, right? This is like envelopes with cash in them kind of
Mm.
crap. You know what I mean? And and it just makes me even more pissed off because everything that went on during 2019 and into 2020, and we had John Paul on here talking about the fact that he had first turned the laptop over. What was it? April of 2019 to the
Yep.
FBI,
Yep.
and we didn't know exactly what was going on, but we knew something was going on, and we were being gaslit. We were having news agencies that said that they were just delivering the news who were getting tens of millions of dollars from the federal government and
Mm,
covering up stories that would hurt the federal government.
right. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
And
It's
and
unbelievable.
yeah, and now you gotta respond to an email saying what you did last week. I mean, no one has patience for that, man. I mean, that is
No.
such a non-starter.
Right.
Seriously. And I
I
feel
know.
bad for people losing their jobs and stuff. I really do. I honestly do. But they're blaming the wrong people.
Yeah.
It,
No, and that story you're talking, and that also wasn't Politico like one of the official like fact checkers too?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
If I never hear that term again, I'll be,
it's unbelievable, and so many things were like removed from like social media or censored by social media based on these fact checks,
yeah,
which were complete absolute bullshit that just preached the party line that you're talking about. And it's kind of sad too. Like when you think about it, we always try to figure out like what's the media's end game. Like why did they bury the Epstein story and the Hillary Clinton email story and like like you talked about the um the laptop, right?
hmm
The Hunter Biden's laptop. And it's not just it's ABC, CBS, NBC. Like you kind of wondered, like I want to know how much money all those companies get from the federal government too, because
yeah,
we try to get to the bottom of it. Is there this communist socialist cabal up at the top that calls all the shots, the globalists, the Klaus Schwabs or whatever? What if it's just about effing money?
right. And
You know
it's,
what I mean? Like if these people basically did the government's bidding because they were thrown millions of dollars, one way or the other,
yeah,
it ended up in some back pocket of the people that call the shots for these networks and for these newspapers and media companies. I mean, it's just it's even uglier. It's sadder. It's like really that's what we're doing. Like
that's what it
you're
comes down to.
you're paying off the press. The
Like
press is
there's no more noble goal, right? Like
right.
at least give me the Karl Marx idealism or something, right?
Right.
Don't tell me it's just for cash.
Right. It's just cash. It's you know what I mean? And it's unbelievable. And people should be excited for more of this stuff being
Yeah.
unearthed.
Yeah.
Like
That's
look what
that's yeah. No, I'm sorry. I'm with you. People should be I don't understand. I understand why people in the media and people in the establishment are upset. But and you know what? I don't know that there's that many people really upset. I mean, I'm not seeing people marching in the street or anything. I mean, are you? I mean,
well
I
there have been we've seen on the news that there's been protests in front of like the USAID building led by
yeah,
some big wig Democrat. But when they pan out, it is not a lot of people. I mean, it's
yeah,
like maybe 30 in front of this building, at any given time. And it's probably just people like, oh, hey, I heard Elizabeth Warren's going to be there. Let's go see and listen to her talk. You know what I mean? Like it could just be tourists for God's sake. Like we
and
don't know how many people are clamoring for federal government employees being laid off. You know what I mean? Like I don't know.
and
I'm not I'm not seeing it.
if the answer is like, the proverbial Trump is Hitler thing, it's like,
That's it.
okay, expand on that. Like, explain that to me. Like, okay, so he's Hit, and why is Hitler trying to make our government more efficient? Like, what? I mean, in other words, it's like take it to its logical end, and they can't because
No.
all they have is demagoguing.
Yeah.
That's all they have. There's no second gear to what they're saying. It's just blah. And then that's it. And it's so easily dismissed. And I think people in their core know it's crap, you know? And I think there's a lot of people that realize, again, I don't think this is a partisan issue, man. This it's partisan if it's like if you love America and you love this country, and I'm not talking about hot dogs and Daisy Dukes. I'm talking about the Constitution, the idea of liberty, and all that good stuff. If you believe in that, what's happening now is fan fucking tastic.
Yeah.
It just there's no way around it.
Yeah,
There's
but
there's no there's no you know, there's nothing to figure out. It's
yeah,
pretty
no,
straightforward.
I know, but I think it's because he's taking action, period. Like
Yeah,
they hate him so much. He's a fascist. Like, look at all the shit that Biden got away with, and as far as abusing the executive branch, and no one said boo about all the things that he did.
right.
I mean, at all.
Because they're not principled.
Well, right. I mean, this guy, and they talk about Trump. Oh, Trump's going to go after his political enemies
I
like a
know.
fascist. I mean, look what Biden and the DOJ did to people that happened to walk into the Capitol because cops said, "Come on in," and here's
Yeah,
the velvet ropes. They executed search warrants at people's like old people's houses in like bumfuck Idaho.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, I mean, they had to do real work to find out all the people who walked into that building. You know, over how many? Over 1,000?
1,500
1,400?
people
1,500 people.
prosecuted.
That's unbelievable to me. And then not only that, like the fact that he went full throttle against Trump, against anybody that was on Trump's side. What was his name? Flynn had to go to jail.
Yeah,
Steve Bannon had to go to jail. Roger
and
Stone had to go to jail. I mean, if they could lock you up or prosecute you or make your life a living hell, how many attorneys? I remember that one female attorney that worked for Trump. They got her to give like she was crying and had
yeah,
to give an apology for
yeah,
basically being his lawyer.
yeah. They were going
It,
after lawyers who they thought could possibly work for Trump in the future
yep.
and scaring them off.
Yeah, that's right. And so what is Trump doing that's so fascist?
Right.
What political enemies is he going after? And by the way, if he does and he's got grounds to do it, God bless
That's
him.
justice, man.
Go do it. I know
Right.
because we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. There's certain people we want to see prosecuted because we know
I
what.
need, yeah, I
Yeah,
need some accountability. I'm not done yet.
I'm
I'm
not.
just not.
I'm not either.
Because here's the thing, and it's not about, look, I'm not a powerful person. Who cares? Whatever. It doesn't mean anything to me, it
Right.
personally, but it means something to me, like spiritually, I guess. It bothers me. But if there are no consequences, it's going to happen again, right? And that's why
Yeah.
people are like, "Oh, Cash Patel is going to get in the FBI, and it's all retribution." I'm like, if Cash Patel or someone like him became the director of the FBI and just willy-nilly started trying to throw people in jail for BS reasons, I'd be in the front of the line being like, "This is ridiculous." You know, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about going after people that actually caused harm and actually did shit that was actually bad, right?
Hmm.
And if they stick to that, I think we can recover and pull out of this nosedive. That's what
Yeah.
we need.
Yeah, but yeah, also remember the blanket pardons that Biden
I
gave
know.
during his. I mean, I picture him like this old dying man and they're grabbing his hand with a pen in it and they're just writing.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I really see it that way. I mean, just like when he said he wasn't going to run again, I think that was a similar situation. Like they just said, "Hey, yep, you're out."
He's a
You know.
puppet. He's a puppet. He was a meat puppet. He was a placeholder. He was always stupid. I remember I heard maybe it was Levin say that, and it really made me laugh. It was years ago. And people are like, they're saying, Biden is horrible or he's dumb or he's like,
Hmm.
he's always been like that. He's
Hmm.
always been horrible. He's been on the wrong side of history. I mean, even Obama threw him under the bus. I
Yeah.
mean, the guy that was Obama's like I think the Secretary of State before Clinton was like he has been on the wrong side of every international diplomatic decision in his entire career. Like he was the only
Hmm.
person in the Situation Room. We've said this before, but it bears repeating. Biden was the only one in the Situation Room advising Obama not to assassinate bin Laden. They knew where he
Wow.
was. They got intel. They had the guys in the theater, not in the movie, but you know what I mean, in the area
Right.
that they could get to him.
Sure.
And Biden was the only dude in Obama's ear that's like, I don't think you should do it.
Yeah. Why?
He's a
Yeah. Like,
horrible, he's dumb.
yeah.
I mean, the
Yeah, no, I
fact,
mean, well, there were he had run for president before, and it came out that he lied about his college record, his law school record. He said he was like number one in his class, and he was like second to last or something.
yeah,
And you watch old clips of him, he likes to do the angry guy thing. Like he would go off on these unhinged rants. Look at me. I'm so against this, or I'm going to fight for that. And we got the 80-year-old version of that. You know what I mean? They would just wind him up and
yeah.
get him all worked up about something. And he would like, yeah, yeah, no
It
joke. Da da da, you know?
it was like the dude that went to the buffet at Red Lobster and they were out of shrimp. Like he was just like so he was just so angry about everything. But and again, not to talk about Biden, but to get back
uh,
to the theme here with like what we're dealing with now. I mean,
yeah,
the contrast is
that's
remarkable.
yeah,
I mean, I really think, I look at my daughter, I look at kids today, it's 2025, and I said this to my wife a couple weeks ago. I'm like, this period that we're living through right now, it's going to be studied in history books 1,000 years from now because you're talking about the global superpower getting its groove back in in one election, like this fast. And it may last or it may not. I don't know.
right,
But if it
right.
does last, this this month and last month and the next month, this little tiny period of time is so consequential. We
Yeah,
can't even see it because we're in the middle of it. But I'm talking about like not just in our lifetimes. I mean, if this goes off the way it's looking like it's going to for the next few years, I mean, I don't, is there another more consequential president other than like,
no,
I mean, seriously? I mean, you talk about like Lincoln saving the Republic. I mean, we're on that level
yeah,
with this
no,
guy.
we
And
really.
it sounds crazy to say it, but I don't know how, I mean, I could make a case for it pretty easily.
Well, yeah, I mean, even just look at what's going on like internationally, right? I mean, like he got the ceasefire in Israel and Gaza. Who knows
Yeah.
how that's going to turn out? But he's flexing the American muscle in a way that it hasn't been flexed in at least, God,
20, 30, 40
20
since
years,
Reagan.
right? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, at least. He's trying to hammer out a deal to end the fucking killing in Ukraine, come up with some kind of, hey guys, war's over because we said so.
Yeah.
That's why. You
Yeah.
know, I,
We're
I
done.
mean, yeah, we're done. He knows how to. He at least attempts to handle China, just like he did the last time.
Yeah.
He deals with he scared Mexico and Canada into making some concessions and helping us out a little bit.
I mean, here's the thing with Ukraine, and I, again, I am 100% on the side of the Ukrainian people.
Of course,
Okay. I feel bad for the Russian people because they have such a dickhead, psychopathic,
leader.
mass murderer as their leader. But look, this war, and I feel like it's like when you're having an intervention with someone, and I know people who are Ukrainian that have family there, that are there, and that it's super traumatic. And I get it. I 100% get it, and it's horrible. But the fact is, Ukraine's not going to quote unquote win this war. They are not going to
No, they
defeat
can't.
Russia. It's not going to happen. Um, it's just not. And it's to be honest with you, it is so awesome that Ukraine is still like fighting. I mean, no one
Yeah,
thought they would be around after a month. I mean, the Ukrainian people, I mean, when you look at like that movie 300, like, Sparta, I am
yeah,
Sparta. The Ukrainians make the Spartans look like Little House on the Prairie, man. I mean, these people
they're fighting.
give it, I mean, they deserve all credit. They're not going to win the war. So all you're going to do is have tens of thousands of people killed every month, just like we have for the last few years. And it's just going to keep going on. And at the end, Ukraine's not going to defeat Russia. Russia's either going to run out of bodies, or Ukraine's going to run out of bodies. and it's just going to be more and more and more and more destruction.
Right.
And it's like, look, man, it's almost like I don't know what it's like with if you've got two young guys, say like 10 or 11, and they're just like, "Rah," they're always into each other, right? And they fight and you pull them apart, and then like one slaps one, you pull them apart. Eventually, sometimes you just gotta let them fight. You know what I mean? And but at the
Yeah.
end of the day, not one's not going to beat up the other. You don't just let them beat the crap out of each other for the
Yeah, you
entire
break it
day.
up.
You got to break it up, and you got to
Yeah.
show them that it's like, look, no one's going to win this. No one's going to win this. It's like the war games thing. Like the only winning move is not to play.
Right.
Well, they had 3 years. Putin had 3 years to beat Ukraine, and Ukraine had 3 years to beat Russia,
Hmm.
and that didn't happen.
Enough's enough.
Enough's enough, man.
And not only that, I mean, everybody's like, oh, Trump is a fascist because he's threatening to pull out of NATO, and he's not being an ally to our good friends across the pond, and all this. And it's like, no, he's basically just saying, why is it always just us? Pay your fair share. That's all we're asking. We still have the bigger GDP. We're still going to donate a lot more to the cause than you
And you
guys
guys,
possibly could,
yeah,
but you're supposed to give the 3% of the GDP, so you got to step up. There's some countries that are barely breaking 1%. Like that's unacceptable.
yeah,
If you want to have the protections of the United States, then you got to chip in for the cause too. There's nothing wrong with flexing that muscle. And as
yeah.
far as telling Zelensky, hey, young buck, time to come to the table here and open your, if it weren't for the United States supporting Ukraine in this battle
It
that
would have
they've
been
had, there would be a Russian flag flying over Kiev
right now.
a long time ago.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
we were the only reason why this thing is dragged on long enough, and the reason why they did this was because of all the money coming back from Ukraine. Don't tell me there was no money laundering going on with that operation.
they've already said they can't account for like $2 billion
Yeah,
or more than that.
exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
the thing is,
And
it's
there's reports even that Zelensky has personally enriched himself based on all of this. Now, I don't
I
know
hope
whether that's
not.
true.
Yeah, I mean, he's talking about like again, I like Zelensky overall.
No,
I
he's a,
wish Ukraine could have, you know, marched into Red Square. I would have loved to have seen that.
hmm,
But I also would love to be 7 feet tall and be a starter in the NBA. And that's just not going to happen, right? So
right.
we all have wants. Um,
Yeah.
but
And look,
at the end of the day, man, look, maybe I if I was over there, if someone was attacking my country, I get it, man. I get being like that righteous indignation. You're fighting for your countrymen. Half your family was murdered, or all of your family was murdered right in front of your eyes, and you're gonna fight, and you're gonna. I get it. It's noble. But the only thing that's gonna happen if this continues is more death. And
yep.
it's not gonna be Putin dying. It's
No,
gonna be like
soldiers.
four dudes from like North Korea that have no fucking idea what a drone is. It's
Yeah.
going to be people from the Ukraine. I mean, I mean, they're losing. Ukraine is losing an entire generation.
Yeah.
That
Yeah, they
is
are.
horrible.
Yeah, they're making like old guys fight and young people, like under like teenagers and senior citizens. Here's a gun, guy. Go get out there.
It needs to stop. And again, another example of like why, and it seems like the media, like with the new media being involved with stuff. But I got to listen to this stuff with Trump's proposal to make a deal with Ukraine with their rare earth metals and different
Yeah,
things like minerals and stuff like that.
yeah.
And people are like, "Oh, we're, raping Ukraine like we're taking." I'm like,
We've always
again,
been doing.
Trump is a business person. He's a business-minded person. The idea that he doesn't want he doesn't want Russia to get their hands on that resource. He doesn't want China to get their hands on that resource. By sending in US investment, and we have people that own mining companies, and we
Right.
can pay a fair market value for it. and we can recoup some of the money that we've loaned them or
Hmm.
given them. We can keep all these minerals out. I mean, again, I'm not the one that said this. I'm not the one that came up, but we can keep our enemies from getting them. Meanwhile, you've got all these companies in the United States and all of this know-how in the United States that's going to go to Ukraine and they're going to have um, skee ball bars and hipster bars and restaurants and homes
Hmm.
and all kinds of stuff. The airplane traffic's going to pick up and the
Hmm.
buildings are.
Yeah.
They're going to
Right.
invest all this money and it's going to make the rebound from this war 50 times faster than it would have been. And everyone's like, here comes Hitler again. I'm like, I
Right.
mean, seriously, at some point um, these people need to be ignored.
Well,
I
yeah,
mean, I don't understand it.
and not only that, so what? I mean, I'm sorry, put your big boy pants on.
Yeah,
We have funded hundreds of billions of dollars into that war. If it weren't for us,
they would have.
there is no Ukraine anymore.
Right,
Period. And now
right.
we're going to go in there and we're going to stop the killing and we're going to support the infrastructure and we're going to help them rebuild. And in return,
We
yeah,
want to. Yeah,
that's ours.
yeah. That's fair.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that at
No,
all.
not at
And not only
all.
that, if we're the badass superpower that's putting an end to this war, yeah, what do we get out of it?
Yeah. And
I
if
have
you
no
were
pro.
Ukrainian, wouldn't you want the United States to invest a crap ton of money in
Yeah,
into your country because they're not going to let Putin come rolling through there because
right,
if you're to believe that Trump is the lizard king overseeing all of these oligarchs, right? Well, the oligarchs aren't going to be very happy letting brother Vlad go steamrolling through their
right.
factories that are refining these minerals.
Yeah, no matter how this turns out, Trump's going to be the bad guy. Like, I
But
mean, let's be real.
yeah,
There's going to be concessions of land to Russia, right? I mean,
there's got to be.
that's going to happen,
It's going to happen.
and they're going to say, "Oh, he sold Zelensky out. He sold the Ukraine out. Look what he did. Now he's going to control their resources." Blah blah blah. That poor democratic country, which basically, well, that I mean, when they had a democratically elected president, we basically, executed a coup.
Yeah,
That's what was done. I mean,
yeah.
that was all drummed up by us. That was all us getting our money in there and being able to get money out. That whole, I mean,
We did 3 episodes on that or
yeah,
touched on it. Yeah.
yeah, a couple of episodes for sure. Um, so the Ukraine has always been sort of a financial playground for powerful people in America anyway, right? So now what is Trump doing? He's going to make it, he's going to officially, sign on for, like you said, putting in infrastructure, sending American companies over there and having control over certain resources. I mean, at the end of the day, so what?
And it's not even control over the resources. It's giving them the technology because right now Ukraine doesn't have the know-how, the capital, or the people to get it out of the ground and at a price that will go to market and make it profitable. We have the
Okay.
technology, we have the capital, we have the know-how. So we're not stealing it from them. They would be getting the
The
fruits of
benefits.
they would get so many
Yeah.
benefits and plus like all the towns like I mean this is like if anyone that knows history after World War II when we went in and we rebuilt MacArthur went in and was pretty much the supreme leader of Japan for a year or so
Yeah.
we went in and rebuilt Germany. The reason we did that wasn't because we were super smart or that we were like super nice. It's because after World War I, we didn't do that. We just
Right.
let
We
Germany
let it sit
rot.
there.
We just let it
Yeah.
sit there like this festering carcass, and we
Hmm.
got Hitler. So,
Yeah.
it's you don't at a certain point, it is in everyone's best interest for everyone to be doing well
Right.
at the end, and we learned that. And that's what
Yeah.
needs to happen in Ukraine.
Well, yeah, and that's one of the things that I guess Trump was getting at when it comes to his bold proposal about what to do with the Gaza Strip.
Yeah, which is
He,
it's the same idea.
yeah,
Invest.
it's the same idea,
I,
totally.
I mean, if you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Well, if you're Trump, everything's a real estate deal. Everything's an investment because it works. I
Yeah.
mean, it doesn't work all the time, but it works a lot. And he knows the best way to improve people's way of life quickly is to get people to invest money
Yeah.
in that area. And but he's Hitler. What I mean, it's so maddening, man.
I
It's just
know.
it's
Well, yeah,
so
you talked,
bananas.
well, and it works. Like you talked about it 2 weeks ago with the Super Bowl party guy,
Yeah.
and you were talking about how people you respect and and some people you even love. Like, how do they not get it, and why do they keep saying these same silly things? Like, why are they so brainwashed? We're trying to get to the bottom of it.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I don't understand it either, other than just the fact that they hate him.
Hmm.
He can do no right, no matter what, and they believe all the BS coming out of the media, that he's just this fascist dictator and he's going to destroy democracy, and he thinks he's a king and all this stuff. They believe what they're told, and there's nothing we can do about it. You know what I mean? Like
It's
this guy's just being a leader
yeah.
internationally and domestically, and it doesn't. They just don't like him.
It it's like just having pride in your country, and also when people say when people talk about American exceptionalism, and one thing that Trump really understands about American ideals and like the American psyche, it's not that we're better people. It's not that we're all going to heaven and other people aren't. It's
Right.
that in this country, we believe that if you give people an opportunity or allow them to have an opportunity and you get out of their way and you allow human nature and human ingenuity to rise to the top to solve these problems, you'll get like 50 people coming up with an idea, and one of them or two of them or three of them are going to be great ideas. And then
Mm.
everyone jumps on that train and off to the races, as opposed to China, where it's like dear leader comes up with the idea, and everyone that disagrees with him is shut down. And I'm not saying China's like this anymore. I'm simplifying it, you know, but North Korea certainly is.
Yeah.
Um, then everyone has to do what the one person says, and if it's a good idea, great, fantastic. If it's not a good idea, then everyone suffers, as opposed to our system. And that's why we're so great, is because the American way, the American system has found a way to harness the ingenuity of human beings at their best. And that's why we rock. That's why we're the biggest economy in the world. And
Mm.
that's why we are who we are, and that's why everyone wants to come here,
Yeah.
and to impugn that as some sort of it's fascist or you have evil intentions or something. It's just so missing the it's just so missing the whole point of it. I don't know. I just question. I just think people have hate in their heart for this guy or this country,
Yeah.
and there's just no talking to him, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, there's definitely the people that are pulling the strings and working the levers. They do have hate in their heart for everything you just said about the American system and Constitution and our way of life. Like that, those are the ideologues, right? Some of them that go like in the deep, deep part of, like George Soros, right? Funding
Yeah,
all the prosecutors and all the NGOs. But then you have people that just simply don't like him,
and I get it. He's a hard
you
guy to
know.
like if you don't like
I,
him.
I
I
know, but
get it.
it's easy to believe the lies
Yes.
when you already go into it knowing, well, I'm a Democrat and he's a Republican. Okay, right there from the jump, you're already ready to believe the lies. You're already ready to believe the skewed lens, right?
Yeah.
Because it fits into your worldview anyway.
Yeah.
It just does. It just does. Like, I mean, and so anything negative they have to say about Trump, you're jumping on it. Like, I see people on Facebook now going, "Oh my God, all these planes are falling out of the sky because he's laying people off in the FAA."
It's just yeah.
Like that's why it's happening, because he's actually trying to get to the bottom of the waste, fraud, and abuse with that agency as well,
And
and all the other bullshit, the
yeah.
DEI and everything else. But no, it's because of Trump that these plane crashes are happening.
I'm just
If there's a tsunami that wipes out 8,000 people in like Southeast Asia,
It's gonna.
that's going to be Trump's fault too because he cut back on regulations, and so he's supporting global warming, and that's why the tsunami killed all those people because of Trump. Because
I
he pulled out of the Paris Accords, right? So that's why the
Then that's
tsunami did.
why, right? That's
Yeah,
because the Earth is gonna explode.
right.
I will say I am, and we did that episode. I don't know which one it was, 150 or something. Um, about being optimistic. We talked about
Oh
that
yeah,
with stuff,
make
and
America optimistic again.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm seeing it come to light, man.
Oh yeah.
I think, and like what you're saying, and what I see in the press, I think that's becoming more of a minority. I mean, I think it's less people. I mean, you look at the great news that came out over the weekend that MSNBC, finally let Joy Behar go, which is such good news. I
No,
mean, it really is.
Joy Reid.
What did I say?
You said Behar.
Oh, Joy Reid. Yes, whatever. She's
I,
next. And
yeah,
then
she's next. I hope.
Jonathan Capehart, they let him go, and I'm just like, this is good. It's good, man. I mean, you got to take the win sometime. I mean,
Yeah,
you can't just beat your head against, not you, I'm saying in general.
yeah. No,
We can't just beat our head against the wall. Things are pretty good, man. And
things are
and
great. Things are
and
great. Look at we didn't even talk about all the confirmations that have gone
oh,
on
I know.
with the administrative. With his the with Cash Patel and
And the
Tulsi Gabbard.
Bongino's in there now.
Right, RFK Jr. obviously got confirmed. Like, I mean, things are really kind of now all the pieces are in place. All the chess pieces are on the chessboard now. And now we're kind of like, all right, what are we going to do?
I
What is this guy going to do? What is that guy going to do? What's Pam Bondi going to do? You know what I mean?
I feel like we were just on a roller coaster for a couple weeks, and it pulled back into the station, and they're like, "You guys want to go around again? Even faster this time?" And we're like,
Right.
"Yeah!" Like I feel like,
Hmm.
and then oh, here we go. Yeah, got to do that. But I think anyway, I think we're like going back up the hill again,
I back up the hill.
and
Exactly.
it's going to be
Exactly.
faster this time,
Hmm. I
and
know.
it's
And then
exciting.
it is exciting. And I'm telling you, as much as they say they hate him and as much as we know that they hate him, there's a part of these media companies that love him, like I
I
said,
agree.
because the roller coaster is running again. And with Biden, what were they doing? Like the guy got in front of the microphones like once every 10 days, 2 weeks
Not
sometimes.
even, yeah,
On the weekends he was in Rehoboth Beach, and it almost became like a tabloid, like, ooh, this person got a photo of him in his beach chair. Like that
yeah.
was about the extent of the Biden coverage.
It was Weekend at Bernie's, man.
It was Weekend at Bernie's, right? Yeah, and then I mean, Trump's keeping them hopping. He's keeping them jumping, and then Capitol Hill itself with all the confirmations and what is the House going to do next? Like, there's apparently they just set up the new budget bill just
Yep.
got passed, I believe, and that's going to lay the groundwork for some of these moves that he wants to make. There's talk about us getting money back from the IRS, like en masse.
It should be crazy.
Can you imagine if
I
that
know.
happens?
I mean,
That'd be so, it'd be so good.
it would be great because it would show people, yeah, it's good on so many levels. And I'm not
Yeah,
just saying it because it's like, oh, they're sending money because it's like, why is the federal government sending? Well, it's our money.
it's our money.
And
Yeah,
it's also a way to kind of show people to viscerally what we're talking about. How much has been wasted and why, and what have we gotten for it?
yeah.
Well, I'm not saying I think it's about that time because we're going to get cut off from
Oh, what's the countdown up there?
our government cheese Zoom call.
What's the countdown?
1 minute and 6 seconds.
All right. Well, then and we've done this twice, so I guess we have been on for a while.
Well, it's
So
been a
it's
pleasure, man,
yeah,
and
man. It's time to wrap things up.
time to wrap it up. So
All right.
have
Well,
a good week, everyone out in podcast
yeah.
land.
Hey, we'll see you next time.
Take care. They get on the train track and they drop those train wheels, and then the regular rubber wheels sit on the rails, and that's what propels you. But the guide wheels keep you on the train track.
Yeah, no,
And
I've never seen that. I mean, so what do they go on there and do?